Once upon a time, in a little house with a pointy roof nestled under a big oak tree, lived a boy named Milo. Now Milo was a curious boy with messy, tangled hair the color of rich dark chocolate and a nose that was permanently stuck in a book. He loved reading about daring adventures in faraway lands more than playing with the other children in his small, sleepy town. Because in his town, life was slow and uneventful. Day after day, week after week, month after month, nothing exciting ever happened. And as the years passed, Milo began to feel that something was missing from his life. A sense of wonder, an itch for adventure, a longing for something extraordinary. But alas, his days were filled with mundane tasks and routine. One night, however, everything changed. It was a dark and stormy night. Rain lashed against the windows and thunder roared like a hungry beast. But Milo wasn't scared. He was mesmerized by the storm. As he stood gazing out of his window, he suddenly spotted a flash of bright, beautiful colors deep in the dark and gloomy woods behind his house. He rubbed his eyes and looked again. Were they just sparks from a lightning strike? No, they were definitely lights. But what kind of lights? He couldn't quite tell. Curiosity sparked within him, a feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. He had to go and see for himself. Without a second thought, Milo slipped on his sneakers, grabbed a flashlight and tiptoed outside. The wind whipped around him, pulling at his jacket as he made his way through the tall, dark trees. He followed the music that had first caught his attention. It was soft and mysterious and full of magic. Then suddenly, as if emerging from the darkness itself, he stumbled upon a glowing sign hanging from a low branch. Midnight Circus, one night only, emblazoned across it in swirling, shimmering letters. Milo hesitated for only a moment before stepping through the curtain of leaves and into the clearing. There before him lay the most magical sight he had ever seen, a circus unlike any he had ever known, filled with wonder and excitement. Tents shimmered with 1,000 lights. Musicians played instruments that seemed to be made of moonlight. And through it all, the air buzzed with anticipation. Milo stared in awe, his mouth hanging open. Could this be real? A circus in the middle of the forest, hidden away from the world. Fire jugglers danced gracefully on moonbeams, their movements fluid and mesmerizing. Acrobats flipped and flew through the air with ease, seemingly defying gravity itself. And in the center ring, an array of talking animals performed tricks that left the audience in stitches. But the most incredible thing of all was the ringmaster. Standing tall in a velvet purple coat, perched on a stool in the center ring was an owl. Yes, an actual talking owl who seemed to command the very essence of the night. He held a silver trumpet in one hand and spoke in rhymes that echoed through the clearing. Welcome, young dreamer, you've crossed through the mist. Only the curious get nights like this. Are you brave enough? Curious, bold and free? Are you ready for a night you won't forget? Milo, still slightly overwhelmed, managed to nod, unsure of what to say. The owl smiled knowingly, and with a flourish of his hand, the music swelled and the show began. As the evening wore on, Milo found himself captivated by the wonders of the Midnight Circus. He watched in suspense as lions that could talk performed daring feats, their words as sharp as their claws. He marveled at a rabbit who painted pictures of the clouds as they drifted lazily overhead, each stroke of her paw adding a splash of color to the canvas of the night sky. And he laughed along with the rest of the audience when a snail who could teleport appeared on stage. Well, not exactly on stage. He was so tiny that it took several minutes for him to arrive. But he did it with such grace and dignity that the crowd applauded anyway. Each act was more incredible than the last, and yet they taught Milo more than just how to juggle balls of fire or paint pictures of the clouds. They showed him the importance of bravery, patience, creativity, kindness, and imagination. As the night deepened, the show went on, and Milo soon realized that this was no ordinary circus. This was a celebration of the extraordinary, a reminder that magic was real, that dreams could come true, and that anything was possible if you just believed. But as the final act approached, Milo couldn't shake off a growing sense of unease. Something didn't feel right. The music seemed to be playing slower, and the animals in the audience looked uneasy. What was happening? Just then, the ringmaster hopped down from his stool and approached Milo, his expression grave. "Milo," he began in a low voice, "there's something you need to know. Our time here is almost up, and it's time for you to go." Milo's heart sank. He didn't want to leave. He had never felt so alive, so free, but he knew the owl was right. It had been an amazing night, but all good things must come to an end, or do they? The owl continued, "But before you go, there's one final act, one final surprise." He turned to face the audience, and Milo saw that all the animals were staring directly at him. "Milo, it's your turn," the owl exclaimed. "What, me?" Milo stammered. "But I don't know any tricks. I don't do magic. I can't juggle or flip or paint pictures of the clouds." The owl smiled gently. "Milo, my dear boy, you bring the magic. All you have to do is believe." Before Milo could respond, the owl had clapped his wings together twice, and the tent erupted in applause. Music filled the clearing once again, only now it was different. It was brighter, bolder, and more beautiful than before. Lights twinkled and sparkled, painting patterns on Milo's eyelids. Suddenly, Milo felt a strange sensation. He was floating, spinning through the air like a shooting star, laughing as the wind ruffled through his hair. He looked down and saw the faces of the animals and the people, their eyes shining with joy and admiration. He was part of the show now, part of the magic. He was the final act of the Midnight Circus. As he spun and twirled, he knew that this was a moment he would treasure forever. When Milo woke up the next morning in his bed, the first thing he noticed was the lingering scent of popcorn and sawdust in his room. Groaning, he sat up and looked around. Had it all been a dream? Tentatively, he got out of bed and walked over to his desk. And there on the corner, nestled amidst the books and papers, he found a tiny folded flyer. Unfolding it carefully, he saw that it read, "Thank you, Milo. The circus returns when the stars are just right." And in the bottom corner, scrunched up into a tight ball, was a single shiny feather. A feather from the owl, the ringmaster of the Midnight Circus. Milo knew then that his adventure had not been a dream, but a reality that he had somehow managed to keep hidden from everyone, even himself. From that day forward, Milo never looked at the world in the same way again. He carried the memory of the Midnight Circus in his heart, a reminder that magic was real, that dreams could come true, and that anything was possible if you just believed. And every night before he went to sleep, he would gaze up at the stars, hoping, wishing that the owl would lead him back to the circus, back to the place where he had discovered the wonder and excitement of a life well lived.